You're in Epcot. You're hangry, you're overheated, and you seriously need to sit down, but the only last-minute reservation you can get is at a restaurant that you've heard is bad. Can you safely try these places, or will they push your situation from bad to worse? Hey everybody, it's Chris for AllEars TV and AllEars.net. Today we're talking about the 4 worst table service restaurants in Epcot according to you. That's right, this list comes straight from reviews posted on AllEars.net by our audience. Coming in as the number 4 worst table service restaurant in Epcot with an AllEars audience rating of 7.16 is Coral Reef in the Living Seas Pavilion. Having opened with the Pavilion on January 15, 1986, Coral Reef is a great example of the dramatic design elements and bold aesthetic of the original Epcot. But to understand why this spot ended up on our viewers' worst list, let's take a look at a recent review posted on AllEars.net. Over to you, Breedlove.
All right, thank you, Chris. So we've got Reynolds' mom of 5 who says, very mediocre food for one of the more expensive menus. Lobster mac and cheese was awful with almost no lobster, like bad catering. Ouch.
That's right, Breedlove, and Reynolds' mom isn't alone. The consensus among negative reviews is that this spot is expensive with food quality that's mediocre at best. An anonymous reviewer said, this restaurant is big flash for a lot of cash, but it lacks the quality control of other restaurants on property.
Mainly because you can see better seafood almost anywhere on property. Mainly I'm thinking of the Boathouse right off the cuff. Although I suppose if you're going to be going to the Coral Reef, it's specifically to look into the tanks and see the wildlife there, so I guess that makes sense.
Alan brings up a good point. This spot is better known for its amazing atmosphere than its amazing food. One entire wall of this restaurant is a giant window made of 8-inch thick glass, which is all that separates you from a large collection of under-the-sea life, including tarpons, sharks, sea turtles, stingrays, groupers, and yes, even scuba divers inside this 5.7 million gallon aquarium.
Coral Reef is a restaurant you have to eat at just once, just because of the atmosphere.
But is that really true? Let's help you decide if this is a must for you and your family. Based on the reviews on AllEars.net and our own experiences, Coral Reef is an example of how Walt Disney World can sometimes rest on its laurels where unique, experiential dining is concerned, and there's a tendency to let the food quality slip some when they might think we're getting our money's worth just because we get to eat someplace cool. If you or someone in your family loves sharks or other sea life, how cool is it to be able to take them to eat next to one of the world's largest aquariums? But if food quality is your top priority, especially if you're a seafood connoisseur and the unconventional ambience sounds a little too gimmicky for your taste, we definitely recommend checking out one of the many other restaurants in Epcot or elsewhere on property. Don't get me wrong, this restaurant has its fans. AllEars reviewer Diane Martson said, delicious food in an awesome setting. Everything was delicious, would definitely return. What do you think? Are you willing to give up food quality in exchange for a once-in-a-lifetime experience? Or would you rather sacrifice some of the atmosphere in favor of a meal that's more likely to be extraordinary? Tell us what you think in the comments below, and if you've eaten here, how about heading over to AllEars.net and leave a review of your own? Hey Molly, anything to add?
I ate at the Coral Reef when I was about 10 with my family because I love marine life, but then I was really concerned that I was eating a friend of somebody in the tank, but the server assured me that nothing that you can see in the tank is served on the menu.
The pros: classic Epcot, totally unique atmosphere, built-in entertainment for kids. Cons: expensive for what you get, mediocre food, dining next to your dinner. Number 3 on your list of worst restaurants in Epcot with a rating of 7.16 is 9 Dragons in the China Pavilion, featuring cuisines from the Cantonese, Szechuan, Mandarin, and one more that I can't pronounce, but it's on your screen, regions of China. 9 Dragons opened in 1985 and serves as a solid stand-in for your more upscale P.F. Chang-style American Chinese restaurants. There are over 45,000 Chinese restaurants in the US. Americans love it, so why is Epcot's Chinese restaurant so low on the list? Let's take a look at one of your reviews from AllEars.net for some perspective.
Grammy3 said, "This was a big disappointment. We have had better Chinese food from takeout restaurants."
I can tell from that big sigh it hurts a little to hear that, Breedlove, but this was a common theme in the negative reviews for Nine Dragons. People like Chinese food. They just want something more from an Epcot culinary experience. Reviewer Karen Lynn said, "It's not that it was bad, it just wasn't great. My family eats Chinese food at home once or twice a month. Points are taken off for this being Epcot, and they could do better but choose to keep it the same."
I don't know about spending theme park money on food that I can just get off Uber Eats for half the cost.
It is kind of a bummer because really, like, that location could be a very cool dim sum restaurant.
All right, guys, but should our viewers eat here? Well, if you're attending Epcot anticipating a foodie adventure that takes you beyond what's available in your hometown, Nine Dragons is not the restaurant for you. Recent reviews on All Ears have noted that the quality seems to be getting better at this restaurant over the past few years, and will it eventually end up on our best restaurants in Epcot list? You can weigh in over at AllEars.net. All Ears reviewer Susan Kowalski did just that and raved, "This is my favorite restaurant at Epcot," which is saying something.
I went to the Nine Dragons recently to try out a new menu item called the Spicy Mala Beef, which they described as numbingly spicy. And by Disney World standards, it was numbingly spicy, which to the rest of the world, that's like a medium heat. But it was actually surprisingly very good, and I got a huge portion for the price.
The pros: you'll recognize the dishes on the menu. Reliable quality. Americans love Chinese food. Cons: you can get it at home. Could be more authentic. More interesting options in Epcot. The second worst table service restaurant in Epcot, according to All Ears reviewer with a rating of 7.06, Le Cellier Steakhouse. Originally named just Le Cellier, this Canada Pavilion staple opened as part of Epcot's Opening Day World Showcase lineup in 1982. Originally a counter-service restaurant that focused on traditional Canadian dishes such as maple syrup pie, it was closed and revamped in 1994 and then again in 1997, ultimately opening as Le Cellier Steakhouse, the table service restaurant we know today. Let's check in with our All Ears reviewers again to see what they had to say.
Anonymous says, "Finally got a res for Le Cellier after many trips to Walt Disney World. So disappointing. Steak was shoe leather, potatoes were cold, service was slow, and one would expect a better atmosphere than there was." I am so sorry, Anonymous, that you had this experience.
Not as sorry as they were, Breedlove. The consensus among the negative reviews is that the risk outweighs the reward too often at this signature restaurant in Walt Disney World. Brian W. summed up a lot of people's thoughts with his review. "Why should it be a gamble going here when it's so expensive? We were basically served a frozen steak. It's the only way I can explain how raw it was in the middle. This would be bad anywhere, but here of all places?"
Surprised the Cellier is that low on the list. I've never had bad service. I love cheese, so the cheese soup is automatically a win.
Alan isn't lying. That cheese soup is very popular.
Two of the best things that you can get at Le Cellier are the cheddar cheese soup and the mushroom steak, which are two things that you can get at the booth at Food and Wine.
Well, Morgan does make an interesting point. If you're in Epcot during Food and Wine, you can breeze through Canada and pick up some of that cheese soup to go. But is Le Cellier someplace you and your family should eat? The fact of the matter is, it's expensive. The more you pay, the more you expect. So it makes sense that standards were high among our reviewers. Another anonymous reviewer said it was okay. For the price and use of 2 table service credits from your dining plan, I'd highly suggest California Grill instead. The moral here is, if this place is your one big splurge, a negative experience here could feel devastating, and there are comparably priced restaurants on property that are practically a guaranteed win. On the other hand, if you're a foodie and willing to take a risk in hopes of scoring one of the amazing dinners that come out when the kitchen is working at top form, Le Cellier is an Epcot staple, with iconic extras like pretzel bread, the new classic maple bourbon glazed Brussels sprouts, and yes, that beer cheddar cheese soup, and we think you should go for it. Our staff has had some excellent meals here over the years. Some of your reviews mentioned loving the song they sing to you here when it's your birthday, so maybe consider this as a potential celebration splurge. A reviewer named Autumn Converse described the Cellier Steakhouse as perfect. I enjoyed my meal each time I've eaten it here. This is a great place to have a meal and celebrate a special occasion. Love it or leave it? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below and on AllEars.net.
I know Le Cellier is really expensive, but it's a signature restaurant in a Disney theme park, so to me that's to be expected. I've always had phenomenal service there, and I've always had a great steak. And my family is from Iowa, so I know good steak.
Pros: sometimes amazing. An Epcot staple. Cheese soup. Cons: sometimes awful. Expensive. Can feel boring compared to other Epcot restaurants. And the #1 worst table service restaurant in Epcot according to our viewers. Coming in with a rating of 6.93, we have Tutto Gusto in the Italy Pavilion. Opened May 1st, 2012, the premise of this wine cellar-inspired eatery is that it was just discovered during the building of Tutto Italia, which is the larger table service restaurant just next door, and that some of the 200 wines were unearthed in the process. Along with the extensive wine list, Tutto Gusto offers authentic Italian small plates, plus you can often order off the full Tutto Italia menu. All right, reviewers, let's hear why you chose this as the worst table service restaurant in Epcot.
Mom and Mouse fan said, I've literally never been treated so rudely by a staff in any other restaurant in my life. Not in Walt Disney World.
We heard a number of comments about the staff here, Breedlove. An anonymous reviewer says, sadly, I can't rely on this place. No reservations, which is great if they aren't busy. If they are busy, it's tiny and feels packed, and the wait staff is easily overwhelmed.
If you're going to eat in the Italy Pavilion, you just want to go next door and have pizza via Napoli.
If you're looking for a low-key spot to escape the hustle and bustle of Epcot, Tutto Gusto provides an attractive environment and an extensive wine list, making it a solid emergency R&R option. So you should definitely keep this hideaway in mind and check it out as you pass through the Italy Pavilion. On the other hand, if you're left sitting for a long time waiting for service with no waiter in sight because it suddenly got very crowded and busy in there, this restaurant could end up being the actual cause of your stress. So if you aren't a fan of playing it by ear, we wouldn't make this place your plan. One rave review posted by a viewer named Disney Diner fully recommends Tutto Gusto, saying, I stopped here for a light dinner and enjoyed it so much. It's been a couple of years since I've eaten here and I've already made up my mind I'll eat here again on my next visit. So good.
Tutto Gusto? I'm very surprised to see it this low. Get a cheeseburger and an Aperol Spritz. What's not to love? And I also gotta say, I love that they don't take reservations. It's a first come, first served lounge, which sometimes is just what you need. Sit down, have a drink in the air conditioning on a nice Epcot day.
Pros: delicious food and wine. Low-key atmosphere. No reservations. Cons: unreliable waitstaff. Small restaurant equals few tables. No reservations. What do you think about this list? Maybe one of these is your favorite place for a sit-down meal in Epcot. Maybe you agree with your fellow reviewers who said these restaurants weren't, the best. The real debate starts now down in the comments. Tell us what you think below, and remember to weigh in on all the reviews on AllEars.net. Your opinion may be reflected in a future episode. If you like this video, be sure to give us a thumbs up. Want more All Ears TV? Click right here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, then click over here. Be sure to click that notification bell so you immediately get notified when we post a new video. This is Chris with AllEars.net and All Ears TV. We will see you next time.